Hi everybody, how you guys doing? Got some updates for the Cliven Bundy situation. Alright, so everything basically rests on the fact that U.S. Magistrate Judge Janice Stewart basically won't allow him to be released until after trial because he's not only a flight risk, according to her, he is lawless and violent. His family and his attorney basically countered that and said, well, if you guys basically believe that, why did it take 22 months after the Bundy standoff for you guys to arrest him? And U.S. Magistrate Judge Janice Stewart basically just waved it off like, oh well. Bundy, 69, who was arrested in Portland last week on a charge stemming from a 2014 armed standoff with federal officials who were rounding up his cattle for unpaid grazing fees. This is basically the situation. He basically came to Oregon to support the armed occupation of the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge Preserve, led by his sons. And basically, U.S. Magistrate Judge Janice Stewart also said Bundy should not be released ahead of the trial because there is a risk he won't show up for future court dates. Federal prosecutors called for the 69-year-old as lawless and violent in a document filed before the hearing, and assertment his attorney and family denied. If he is released, he goes back to his ranch. That is likely the last time the government will see him, Stewart said. He came to Oregon to support a weeks-long occupation of the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge, which his sons Ahmed and Ryan Bundy launched January 2, demanded federal government turn over lands to the public or to local controls. His sons were arrested January 26th and remain in jail, but 4 holdouts extended the occupation until last Thursday when they surrendered. The elder Bundy was not charged in connection with the Oregon occupation. All his charges stem from the 2014 standoff, which go as follows: conspiracy, assault on a federal officer, obstruction, weapon use and possession, extortion to interfere with commerce, and aiding and abetting. Bundy's attorney, Noel Greffinson, said his client could not be a danger if authorities needed to charge him 22 months. The judge dismissed that argument. And set his next hearing for Friday. A family member said the patriarch isn't dangerous or a criminal and should be released to live at home. Cliven believes in a proper role of government and proper jurisdiction. Where's the jurisdiction, daughter-in-law? Brianna Bundy told the Associated Press by telephone Bunkerville, Nevada. He's not a flight risk. This is his home. This is where he lives. This is where his livelihood is, she said. So, basically, Cliven Bundy is accused of unlawfully directing more than 200 followers to stop federal agents and contract cowboys who were trying to enforce a court-ordered roundup 400 cattle 2 years ago. Witnesses have described the level of threat violence as so intense that something as innocent as a backfire of a vehicle or someone lighting a firecracker would have set off a firefight, according to a 34-page document filed by prosecutors Tuesday. Prosecutors, by the way, are not being written down as to who they are in this case, folks. They allege that Bundy and his followers set up traffic checkpoints on public roads and followed and intimidated federal officials trying to conduct implant surveys, quote-unquote. Because that's what they were doing. No kidding. Alright, neither the Constitution nor any other laws gives anyone the right to use or carry, let alone brandish, aim, point a firearm at a federal law enforcement performing, quote-unquote, official duties, whether one thinks the officer is acting constitutionally or not. To defuse the standoff, government released the cows. Federal authorities have said Bundy owes more than $1 million in fees and penalties, letting cows graze illegally for decades on public land near his ranch. If convicted of 6 charges, he could probably spend the remaining years of his life there. So, you guys get the idea on this, folks. This is getting outrageous. I don't believe he's a flight risk. I believe that once the trial comes down, he will be moved to a jail in Nevada, probably one closer to home, where he will serve probably the next, I would say, better part of 4 to 5 years. And then they will slowly move him back home after he, is associated with the governmental pharmaceutical reps and, the right people that want to basically brainwash him and everything else. And I see this guy basically going home and killing himself, while his kids basically rot in prison for another 3 to 4 years past that point. That's kind of where I am with this. That's what I completely believe. He's 69 now. I don't see him coming out before 75. So, well, yeah, that's about right. I don't really see him coming home before his 70th. I don't see him coming home for his 72nd or 73rd. I think at that 74 point, though, they're going to release him to live at home after the drugs have basically made him brain dead and, made him to where he's an old man where he can't do anything or think straight. And that's pretty much the way they want the rest of us. Under their pharmaceutical industry, that the government's basically murdered entire countries full of people trying to get up all the rights to all the drugs and all the illegal stuff done over the last 4 or 5 decades so they can own global rights on all the pharmaceuticals, so they can basically say anybody acting funny is now hereby subject to pills. So that's kind of where I'm at, and well, I don't think he's going to be around much longer. I'll be honest with you. I think about a year after his release to go home, I think he's going to off himself and be done with that. Thanks.